This space gray Apple Watch Series 4 in aluminum cost me $399. I then bought this braided solo loop as well as this braided solo loop, each which were $100, bringing the total cost of my watch to $599. Apple just released their new Series 9 this fall, which begs the question, how does my Series 4 hold up with their new model, and how is my watch aged in 5 years? So this watch came out as the first major redesign to Apple Watch since the first one came out in 2015. This is actually my second watch, as I did buy that original watch in 2015. And they made the display like a little bit more rounded. They brought the bezels a little bit tinier, brought the display closer to the edges, added an EKG sensor with the Series 4, and promised some much needed battery and software improvements compared to the Series 1. Just want to note that the Series 4 does not actually have an always-on display. Any conversation about Apple Watch generally involves fitness, and for good reason. The Apple Watch is an excellent fitness companion. I wear this to the gym, when I run, and when I play basketball or tennis. After 5 years, I still love closing my rings, and I still participate in competitions with my family and my friends. I also use a third-party app like Fitbod to track sets, track rest time, and log workouts, so that I don't have to go on my phone and risk getting distracted in the middle of working out. When Apple added sleep tracking to Apple Watch, which didn't come with Series 4, I was ecstatic. I'm a huge sleep nerd, and I've always wondered about my sleep and figured out whether I'm getting enough. About halfway through third year, I realized I was only getting about 6 hours a night, and for a person like me, you want between 7 and 9 hours. I know that 9 is unrealistic, but I can aim for 7, and the new sleep tracking features on Apple Watch has made it a lot more enjoyable to track your sleep, trying to really be disciplined about getting to bed on time, waking up at the same time every day. And I've gone from 6 hours a night through third year of med school to about 7 hours a night in the last few months. And I credit Apple Watch for making it fun to do this. Instead of charging my watch overnight, I will charge it before I get in the shower, or I'll charge it after I get home really quickly while I'm relaxing. Finally, Apple released like a decibel tracker to keep tracking of the amount of sound you're exposed to. And it's a pretty continuous tracker. Right now, I'm speaking at about 53 decibels. And it's helpful to have this information on your wrist because, as you know, the higher you get in decibels, the more likely you are to risk hearing damage. I know now when I'm in a subway or when I'm at a loud place, I can just pop my AirPods in, turn on the noise canceling, and protect my hearing. And it's nice to be armed with that information. The one downside of this is when I'm at a party or a concert or a wedding where it's supposed to be loud and rambunctious, I've enjoyed those less because now I'm aware constantly of how damaging the environment is. So be cautious with how you use this if you use it. It does reduce your enjoyment of some things. All in all, 5 years later, and all three of these functions have held up great. Obviously, the sleep tracking wasn't even there to begin with, so it's an added functionality, which is nice and rare to see with products. You know, you're always supposed to buy something for what it is now, not what it could be in the future. And this is a rare scenario where that's not true, and the product actually got better with software updates. Productivity is a weird one with Apple Watch. On one hand, it's a tiny computer on your wrist, enabling you to access a lot more things. On the other hand, it's a tiny computer on your wrist, and so you really don't know what you're supposed to be able to do on your wrist anyway. I've landed on 3 main uses with Apple Watch: Siri, the camera app, and timers. So the first one's pretty self-explanatory. You know, being able to respond to messages, answer phone calls, make calendar events, make reminders, all from your voice is extremely efficient, and I'm all about efficiency, especially when I'm trying to do stupid stuff between patient rooms or between going to the gym and coming home and driving, or grocery store, like whatever. It's nice to be hands-free and just be able to say what you want and it being done, not having to pull your phone out and unlock it in order to trigger a command. The camera app is really only useful for someone like me because I use my iPhone to film all these YouTube videos, and having the viewfinder on my wrist is nice so I can position myself and make sure that I'm in frame where I want, have the lighting the way I want it. It's a little annoying because it's tiny and you're kind of trying to guess what you look like because you can't see the full clarity of it, but it has still saved me hours in potential reshoots. And third, timers. I cook a lot. I use the wake up timer on the watch as well when I go to bed, so I live my life around timers. When I'm deeply focusing on a manuscript or filming or editing, I'll set like a 90-minute timer, so having the tap on my wrist will let me know when it's time to take a break or switch tasks entirely. I love that. Finally, moving on to the things that I think age the most over time, which is the display, the battery, and the software. So I talked about this similarly in my last video on the iPad after 5 years, but let's start with the display. I've never had an issue viewing the Series 4 in bright environments. Like I just got back from the gym on a beautiful sunny day like today, and I was able to do whatever I wanted and didn't squint and didn't have any issues. So I'm not really sure why Apple's intent on increasing the brightness to like absurd levels like it has with the Series 9, but I haven't had an issue with at least the Series 4, so take that as you will. The display has been great. The responsiveness of the display, however, has not been great. It's been pretty choppy, especially when switching watch faces, triggering the control center, trying to switch between apps. That's been really buggy, especially with watchOS 10, and so I'll give it like a mixed bag for display. In terms of brightness, it's great, but lagginess, it's pretty bad. The battery life has also degraded. I mean, battery life with Apple Watch has never been amazing. They've always promised 18 hours and they haven't really extended beyond that, except for the Ultra models. So, I mean, when I got the Series 4, yeah, I got barely 2 days out of it, kind of what you would expect, but it wasn't really amazing even to begin with, and it's degraded appropriately. So now it lasts less than a day. But there have been many instances, especially when I'm on surgical rotations, where I'm unable to meet that charging schedule because I'm in the hospital or I'm in a long case and I come back to my watch and it's dead, or I wake up and my watch is on 10% and it dies during the day. So I think we all would appreciate a bigger focus on battery longevity with Apple Watch. Hopefully they do that next year, but overall the battery has been okay to bad, especially as time has gone on. It's still usable, and if you are able to charge it a few times throughout the day, you can still do everything you want, like I am right now, but this is only gonna get more annoying as time goes on and as my schedule gets crazier. Finally, watchOS 9 has been an excellent software for Apple Watch. I never really had any issues with performance, battery, or anything with it. watchOS 10, which just came out recently, on the other hand, has been pretty bad. I remember when I first updated to it, my watch would initially die a few times in a day. And I know it's gotten better in that time, but they pretty much reimagined how you use Apple Watch. And for somebody who's had it for so long, it's been a little bit of a frustrating experience. There were some objective advantages to having watchOS 9's UI and ability to navigate that aren't there anymore with watchOS 10. And in general, I found that everything takes an extra button push or an extra click or some other stupid interface interaction that it shouldn't need to in order to execute. So I'm not in love with watchOS 10. I also think that personally the newer colorful backgrounds for the Apple Watch apps have made the battery life even worse. And maybe this is part of the plan to like encourage Apple Watch users of Series 4 or older to upgrade their watches. But overall, the experience with watchOS 10 has been pretty subpar. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. I've spoken to other family members, all of whom have Apple Watch, and none of them like it. So do with that what you will. In all seriousness, I think Apple should take a look at how people use their Apple Watch, comparing it to watchOS 9, and realize that maybe they can walk back some of these unnecessary changes, because nobody wants to spend more time tapping and clicking on buttons when the whole point of having a touchscreen watch to leverage the touchscreen to interact with it how you want to and not be obligated to press buttons in order to do things. Now, this is just my opinion. Personally, I believe having a software-enabled watch should be a very efficiency-based experience, not a very physical experience. So after 5 years, the Apple Watch Series 4 has definitely showed its age, particularly regarding display responsiveness, battery, and overall performance. And I think the main thing that I've learned is that the lifespan of an Apple Watch is a lot longer than I originally thought it would be. The things that have gotten worse over time were, in my opinion, offset by the added functionality of sleep tracking per se, and continued support with newer software updates. Personally, I don't feel like the Series 9 or Ultra 2 are significant upgrades from last year. And I think if you have a Series 5 or later, you definitely don't need to upgrade. I think you can make an argument for Series 4 given the limitations I mentioned through this video. Personally, I'd say wait if you can until the Series 10, as I think that'll be a fun year for Apple Watch. The Series 4 is not dead yet and has actually held up remarkably well given 5 years of daily use. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, please subscribe if you loved it, and if you have any comments or questions, please drop them below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.